America, hell, the entire world. Welcome to Doing Pro. America.
That's a quick 82 yards, folks. Longest run of the year.
Hello, podcast world. This is Anthony Stafford, and I'm ready to go pro.
Central runs away from the pursuit, delivers the ball outside to Anthony Stafford, and he's finally knocked out of bounds.
Motion and great speed. Here's the difference. Watch the crack right there. Just outruns everybody. Probably should put the ball in the 2-yard line.
Oklahoma has it at their own 20.
Jamel Holloway on the option play. Stafford. That's why we got him here. Great speed.
I tell people all the time, anybody that really knows me or grew up with me, they call me Bebe.
That's what's up, because I promise you, I didn't know your real name until high school, until I started seeing the statistics and all. And it's like, man, this Ant Stafford cold. I'm like, man, I don't know no Ant Stafford. Then somebody said, man, Baby. I said, oh, man.
One and the same, huh?
Yeah, one of the same. That's what's up.
But if you play
got a nickname, that means you special.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
well, if
That's
you
it.
play with when you play with Bay, we call him Bay.
Yep.
Who are some of the people around you, first team you may have played on, maybe a parent, relative, somebody got you started with the athletics thing?
Yeah. First team I played on was, Little League, like we all started pretty much with the Royal Knights. And my cousin got me started with it. And, remember the Royal Knights, they started out practicing down at Handy Park. And my grandmother lived just a few houses up from Handy Park. So I didn't start playing until I was, 11 years old. But I would sit on the porch and watch them practice in the park because I could see them from my porch. But my grandmother wouldn't let me play because I had asthma. And so I would beg and beg and beg, and she wouldn't let me go down there. But she was afraid somebody might sign me up, and I wanted to play. And then when I turned 11, she finally relented and let me play. And then my cousin, who was coaching for the Royal Knights, Joe Moore, I don't know if you guys remember his name. He got me started, man, and I got started playing offensive guard and defensive end.
We start the second quarter. Oklahoma has it 2nd and 8 at the Iowa State 27. It's to Stafford, and of course there's great speed. Anthony Stafford for a touchdown. Wow.
So they probably needed some help on the line, and, that's where it started.
Hey, it's hard on the new kid, ain't it?
Yeah, it is, man. But you know what? At that point, I was kind of relishing playing defense too. So I would come off that edge, man, with that speed, and I'd make some tackles, and they like, well, look at him at some other things, then, Oh yeah. Well, we always did something in the neighborhood. So I was involved in playing basketball in the park, corkball, baseball, and actually, really, I started playing baseball just on a little pickup team, and I can't even remember the name of it, but I played catcher, short, and third, and I really enjoyed that. But football was always my first love.
So speed, everybody knows you for the speed.
Oh yeah.
So I would have thought you ran track. I thought track would have been the first thing that you laid hands on.
I didn't run track until high school, and I ran track kind of as a sidelight to help with football and just kind of keep me in shape. And I did it all, man, just like you guys. I didn't run track till high school. I I wanted to play basketball, but I think it kind of conflicted with track, and of course did the football thing, man, and thought about baseball, but didn't. I wanted to kind of focus on just football and track.
So, Al, I know you and Baby went to the same school, man. Go ahead and speak on that a little bit.
Well, I want to ask Bay a question. How did you end up going to Sumner, Bay?
You know, I went to Hickey Elementary, which was it was the neighborhood, the feeder school into Sumner. But I always wanted to go to Sumner because even when we were with the Knights, we would go to Sumner's games and watch them, play. And I knew a lot of guys that played at Sumner, the Hoods, Anthony Hood and Alan Hood,
Oh, yeah.
Mike P, and some of those guys, man. Sumner was ripping it up, man. So for me, that was a no-brainer. That's where I wanted to be.
So the Hood, one of them was a quarterback, right?
Yeah, Alan was a quarterback, and Anthony was a running back. And they lived around the corner from me, man. And, when we weren't, when I wasn't playing with the Royal Knights and they weren't playing at Sumner, we all played sandlot football down in the park.
Yeah.
And so those guys were older than me, but I didn't care. I just played with them anyway. And, they showed me things, and I put a few moves on them, and So
the rest was history. Huh?
Yeah.
Man, Stafford, so give me some information about the area that you grew up in. Obviously, hearing some of your old background before you even got, I know you were very prideful about your family and the sports and all that kind of and evolved later, but go into that a little bit, man.
Yeah, well, like I said, I grew up in that Handy Park area, off of, Euclid, Natural Bridge, that whole area there. Like I said, my grandmother she lived right up the street, and she basically raised myself and my two sisters. My mom had a hard go of it, is the best way to put it.
Right.
So my whole entire childhood pretty much lived with my grandmother, and, just wanted to do better and make something of myself. And I saw athletics as a way to do that. At first it was the love for it. And then after you have the love for it and the passion, you want to do it, then the ability, you show some ability. And then once you have that ability, you start setting those goals that, hey, I can play this game, I can play this sport. I got role models in the neighborhood that's gone before me, kind of showing me things. So then you start setting your own goals.
So, Bay, your first actual practice at Sumner,
Mm-hmm.
I know our first day playing football at Sumner our experience is different. My first day, I came up there, it was 100 guys, and I was on the kickoff team. So Coach Walls didn't even know I was there at that particular time. In your situation, tell us your first day of actual football practice at Sumner High School.
Well, it was much like yours, Al. At Sumner at that time, when you went out for football, you probably had 100, 120 kids out there, right?
Right.
So I think I had a little bit of an advantage because I was in the neighborhood, and my elementary school was feeding into that school. And plus, with the Hoods already playing there, and they knew what I was doing, and at the JFL level, they were kind of telling Coach Walls about it already.
Right.
So he kind of knew me, but he didn't really know what kind of ability that I had. He just knew that I was successful at the Little League level. And so he kind of knew me, but I was still in with those 100 guys. So I still had to myself, and, we start with 100 guys. And by that second two days, it might have been down to 75, go down to 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Guys got weeded out pretty quick. Started out on B team. And again, kind of showed my ability a little bit. And probably when we went to play Jeff City, in Jeff City, my freshman year, and Mr. Walls called up myself and Lawrence Hill to go travel. Now, we didn't play, but we traveled, so that was kind of an honor in itself,
Man,
shout out to Lawrence Hill, man. Mentor, big time, man. I love that dude right there,
Yeah.
bro.
Man,
on
that's
my
Coach
guy.
Walls deal, man. Obviously, Coach Walls is legendary, not only at Sumner. I mean, for people like myself at Hazelwood Central, I know Lorenzo and I, Van Zandt, all of us talk highly of Coach Walls, man. Give us your impression of him when you first met him, how it was to have him as a coach. And not only that, man, playing at one of the the baddest schools in the PHL and arguably in the St. Louis market. Tell me about that, man. How what that means to you, brother.
Well, Coach Walls, I like to call him. He's an old school coach. I mean, he whether you were the top player or the last man on the roster, he's going to try and make you better. And his methods were if you mess up, he's going to get in your ass. If you did good, he pat you on the back.
That's right.
But he expected perfection. And Al can tell you this, man, we would run plays in practice over and over and over again. And I would think to myself, why do we have to keep running the same play over again? I mean, ad nauseum. If we messed up, that means you had to run them 10 times more.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was instilling in us was that perfection. Do it right. Have quality to it. Know your assignment. That he was just drilling that in our heads, and he was a disciplinarian. But he's also a good man because he was molding young men. And don't let it fool you. He did. So and Al can tell you the same thing. When I left Sumner, I was ready for anything, man.
Good.
Because you had to be tough as nails.
Yes.
You had to respond to that coaching. And so when I got to OU, I was ready.
Good old OU, huh?
Oh yeah.
Reaching that legendary status, man, because anytime a conversation come up about running backs, your name is either first or maybe second.
Yeah.
But in first in probably over half the city's mind. So people ask me about it. I say I ain't speaking on it because I got a relationship with both of you guys, and I took things from both of you guys' game. So I'll never fix my mouth to say that. I'm just gracious and glad that I know you guys and got a relationship with you. But,
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to touch what Lorenzo was saying, man, there's a lot of great talent that comes through the state of Missouri. St. Louis, PHL, all across, man. And by far, you guys have always, when I say you guys, I mean, when I think of backs, I think of you and Tony Van Zandt, number 1 and 2, man. I mean, you can flip a coin either way. I have much respect for Bebe. I competed against him. And not only that, man, we played a few things. We played golf. We socialized over the years. And like I was telling Al the other day, man, I said, man, Sumner, your coaching staff, man, y'all still got that relationship like y'all were in high school, man, 30, 40 years later, man. That's tough stuff. And then you show a lot of respect to those who you competed against, man. I told Al you invited me down to Arizona to play golf with y'all, Coach Perry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just a dynamite brotherhood there, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that goes back to that history and that tradition and just, looking at guys that's gone before and trying to help guys that came after. In terms of, the competition and the respect for other players, man, I think we always had that respect. Now, we're all competitors, and we're going to go compete when we got to go compete. But if you got a guy like Tony and some others that came out of St. Louis, man, we all have mad love for each other. So if it wasn't a competition when we went off to college or we're doing other things, we were cheering each other on, and that's the way it should be.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Love that. So in high school, is there any memorable games that you had?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of memorable games. Let me see if I can pull out a few. I want to say I'll start with probably was my junior year. We went over to East St. Louis to play Lincoln. And at that time, we were dominant. East St. Louis Flyers were dominant. And everybody wanted to see that matchup. Yeah. But it never did happen at that time. Because I felt like that the Flyers felt like we had too much firepower for them. So they send Lincoln. And so they scheduled Lincoln. We go over and we beat the brakes off Lincoln. We beat the brakes off of them. So, I return a kick. I think maybe the opening second kickoff of the game, I go 80. Then I take a handoff and I go 70 on them. So we wound up beating them pretty bad. And so that was kind of a little bit of vindication for, in our minds at that time, East St. Louis ducking us.
Mm-hmm. So did you, around that time, did you really start to feel like you had something?
Yeah, I did, because again, you started to establish those goals, and when you start to have a little bit of success, you kind of feel like that you can compete, and you can kind of go on and do bigger and better things. So I just try to continue to work hard and set those goals, and really, I'm a team guy. I've always been a team guy, and to me, it's more about winning than anything else. The individual accolades and achievements will come, and if I can do some things individually to help the team win, I was always good with that, man.
So what was the Sumner campus life like in the building?
Just family, man. Just family. I mean, it was wild at times. I mean, it's an inner city school, so you got your knuckleheads and guys that want to act up and act a fool, and you had your jocks and your different cliques and things like that. But really, it was a big family. But most people knew everybody, because of the way Sumner was structured in the hallways and things like that, or practicing after school, whether it was track, basketball, whatever. So it was just like one big family, and everybody kind of knew each other.
Hey, Al, you can probably appreciate this, man. The thing that I remember about Sumner, and this is before I got to high school, and it's partly from watching you play before I got to high school too. And man, the drum team, man, they used to play this particular drum sound. It'd be like boom, 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 cat, cat.
Yeah.
Cat, man, they used to get
right
my blood going, man. And I'm telling you, man, I wanted to go to Sumner because of the damn band.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. we had a live band, too, man. And they get it rolling at home games, too, man, with that same little tune, man. And it might be up in the stands, jumping.
That animal parade.
Yeah, then y'all cats had the do-rag hanging out the back of the helmet, man.
Oh, yeah, it was clean, man.
Always had the fresh unis.
Yes. So, Bay, let me ask you a question real quick. A lot of people don't know this about our football program, and if you played on offensive side of the ball. Tell me, how long did it take you to learn the program? And then also explain to them that everybody had a certain job to do, and the linemen, from the backs to the linemen, everybody had to have a proper step and footwork when we ran the ground. So they just kind of tell them about those couple things.
Actually, in terms of learning that offense, man, it probably took me a couple years. And when I say it took me a couple years, I mean, I knew the plays and I knew how to execute the plays, but really understanding the intricacies of the offense, and like you said, the footwork of the lineman and where that lineman was going to be, or what plays we ran to set up other plays, and just going through that in my mind and being able to see the game, visualize the game, know where I needed to be, know where other guys were going to be in the scheme of the offense. So probably really a couple years for me.
And we did everything top speed in practice, guys. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, everything was live.
Everything was live.
Yeah, it was live. And at the end of every practice, well, let me back up for a minute. We did this drill called the shoot drill. And it was a metal chute that was, I don't know if Mr. Walls made it or who made it, but it had like 4 or 5 chutes. You remember it, Al? 4 or 5 chutes, and it was kind of a blocking drill. And, have defense on one side, offense on the other. You get in the chute, and you're probably maybe 2 feet apart, if that. And he blow that whistle, and you got to block, or they got to get off the block, or what have you. And then at the end of every practice, we would do something called goal line. And so it was like ones-on-ones, man. And sometimes the defense would get the best of us. And if they got the best of us, Mr. Walls would not let practice in. He'd go, Perry, run it back.
Yep.
And Mr. Perry go, we stopped y'all, Walls.
Yep, run it again.
We run it back.
Yeah.
And then the offense had to get the best of them. Then he'd blow the whistle and call practice off. Am I lying, Al?
Hey, man.
No, he tells you the truth, man.
Stafford, man. Obviously, man, I always looked up to you when I was we're pretty much just a year apart, but man, you kind of set the standard for underclassmen playing at the varsity level. And I can recall, man, looking at you playing that championship game on TV, man, and man, with the do-rag, like Lorenzo was saying, and then the plays you and what was that, Lorenzo
McCline
and the quarterback, man. Who's the quarterback on the team?
That was Palmer Hubbard.
Man, y'all just like pros out there, man. But anyway, that set the standard for people like myself, Van Zandt. I know we were just so proud to see you on TV, man, and just coming out of nowhere, somebody in our neighborhood performing, man, and it was just a treat looking at that.
Well, I appreciate that, man, and I was just out there trying to do my thing and help the team win, and so that exposure and other guys like yourself and some of the younger kids, Brink was coming up at that time. So for you all to see that and for that to kind of motivate you guys and to get that going, and that's special to me. I was fortunate and blessed enough to be talented enough to play at an early age. But for me, it was just about wanting to carry on that tradition, that winning tradition at Sumner, and help us win. And we had some great teams, man. And so it wasn't just me. It was a lot of guys. Al contributed to that. His freshman and sophomore year when he was coming up, and maybe we get into this. I tried to mentor Al because I saw he had some ability, and I knew about his abilities coming through, because you hear it, the guys, the people that are coming up and who the athletes are. So you just try and pass that baton, man.
So, Bay, I know you ended up going to Oklahoma, but as a freshman, I was kind of in the cut, and I didn't really follow you, even though I was in the same building with you. Who all recruited you out of high school, and why did you choose Oklahoma?
Good question. I got recruited by a lot of schools, so I'll just narrow it down to where I took visits. I took visits to University of Michigan, Notre Dame, Stanford, and I only went out to Stanford because they said they were going to take us to the Super Bowl on a recruiting trip, which they didn't. So it was kind of a wasted trip. University of Iowa, and then of course OU. But I had all kinds of schools after me, man. Nebraska was one of them, and who else? All the Big Eight, Iowa State. I didn't have Ohio State. Ohio State recruited me in track, but not for football. And I think I probably could have, so just most of the big schools. And a lot of the coaches came down in the neighborhood and talked to my grandmother, and people would be coming out, outside, because if they saw Bo Schembechler show up one Sunday, or Coach Ritzler was there another day. And so it was crazy, man. And the reason I chose Oklahoma, I almost went to Michigan, but I felt like Michigan was going to be too far away from home for me. I was more of a homebody. So I chose Oklahoma for a combination of things. For school, for one, it was close enough where I could get home if I needed to get home. And they had a winning program. So I was good with that.
So I was going to mention my experience with Coach Switzer, because, he had already been through, recruited you, recruited TVZ. So then Mario Johnson was the next guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he come in the building, Switzer got the national championship ring on. He had a mink bomb on. And, man, you'd have thought the Pied Piper had walked through the front door of the high school, man. It was one of the coldest things, one of the coldest memories that I had, man. And, how was that when he recruited you, man? Because that dude there was a for real character.
Coach Switzer is the salt of the earth kind of person, just down to earth, and he comes from humble beginnings. He's from Arkansas. He's an Arkansas guy. But he was poor growing up, so he could relate to the inner city black athlete. And, he can be flamboyant. He's full of stories, and he's just got that magnetic personality. So, yeah, I believe when you say he was like the Pied Piper walking into the building, he is, man, because he just draws people to him, and he'll pull you in, and he'll tell you stories, and he'll talk to you like he's known you all his life.
Yeah, the personable thing was awesome, man.
Yeah, and so, to me, we call him the king.
That's what's up.
And do anything for his players. I can call him right now and go, hey, coach, can you give me a reference? Or, hey, coach, I need such and such. Hey, coach, do you know so-and-so? You got a connection here? And he'll get on the phone. He knows everybody. He'll get on the phone and connect you with somebody.
That's a good coach there for you.
Yeah.
Man, real quick on that. Coming from the inner city, man. And pretty much what is the inner city, right?
Right.
Black people, and that's pretty much it, man. Now you're going to Oklahoma, right? And now, what's the culture like for you, man? And how were you able to make that adjustment or transition and learn?
Yeah.
What it's like to be outside the inner city.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you that I didn't transition well. because when you leave the inner city, even though you're prepared, to face anything, but just from a different cultural standpoint. So when I left St. Louis to come to Oklahoma, it's predominantly white.
Mm-hmm.
The only black people really are the kids that are playing ball or going to school, and that's not very many of us.
Right.
So I had a tough time because I had to figure out how to relate to individuals of different races. And that's what college does for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's that melting pot. You grow up a lot. So my freshman year, I was doing well on the field, but I was struggling relationship-wise because I had really never been around that many white people before.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you learn how to adjust and what's life like. And growing up in the neighborhood, pretty much everybody's poor. They don't have money. So what you have is what others have. So when I get to Oklahoma, again, predominantly white, kids are driving BMWs and Porsches and all these things. And I'm like, where do they get the money to do that kind of stuff?
Where they get that money from?
Right.
So it's a culture shock.
What's going on here?
Yeah, where they get that money from, man?
And you walk in the classes, they driving the class, huh?
And I was lucky to get a pair of tennis shoes, and here they come freshman year driving expensive cars, man. And it's just like, it was just crazy. It's a culture shock, man.
Right.
Huge culture shock. Was it like that for you down there at TCU?
Yeah, it was the same thing, and it was funny because when somebody see you or you in class with somebody, they always ask you what sport you play. They knew that you wasn't there on an academic scholarship, and it's just something we got accustomed to doing, man. We just, it was no way around it because it was a small campus. So
right.
I kind of feel the same way that Bebe felt when he was at OU.
Similar experience for me too, man. Because you believe it or not, they
they
sent me one of them
thing.
Yeah, man, they sent me one of them probation letters. There was one of them, if you don't get them grades up within the next couple of weeks, we about to send you home. I'm like, hey, let me get that letter. Don't send that letter home.
Right. Yeah. So kind of went through a similar experience, man. And again, it's that culture shock and, having to learn to be a student and study and, balance playing ball and studying and doing all those things. So I actually went to the bursar's office and changed my address because I didn't want my grandmother to get the letter that I had to go to summer school to get some credits. Wow. Let me give them my address.
Self-love there, ain't it?
And so I come home and call home. She's going, how's school's going? I go, oh, Mom's going good. I'm good.
That's what's up. Man, they held it down, didn't they?
And I learned that at an early age, man, being able to the culture shock of going from the city and going out to the county, man, that came on early for me. And I can remember my mom telling me, she said, hey, I'm going to just give you this information. Pay attention to the individuals that's doing these things to you and make your own, your own assessment based on that. And it did teach me a lot. It gave me an opportunity to, to learn people, get to know who those individuals are, what they're about, and then make my own game plan at that point. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's a challenge for somebody young like yourself, man, and going through you're becoming a young adult. Now you're going to college, and now you got to find out, how do I make these adjustments, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, it's just culture shock. You have to learn how to interact with people in a different way, and kind of formulate that mechanism that's saying when someone is not treating you well or not treating you right or treating you just like an athlete or, saying stuff to you like what Albert was saying that, what sport do you play? Well, how do you respond to something like that? Because to me, that is condescending and that's a put down. You just automatically assume that I'm an athlete and I'm not here on the academic standpoint of that I'm not a good student. So don't do that to me. Don't make that assumption. Now, your assumption is right, but don't heap that on me right away.
Your freshman year, you played in the Orange Bowl, the national championship game. Mm-hmm. Man, just tell us about that experience, man. I mean, it's a primetime game, sellout crowd. How was your approach for that particular game?
Wow, man, just nervous as heck, man. I'm a freshman. I'm playing a lot, starting some games, and here we are in the national championship game against a powerhouse like Penn State. You grow up as hearing about Penn State, as some of the other big schools. And so here you are as a freshman right out of high school, and the mighty Penn State is across the field from you and Joe Paterno. So you're nervous, but after you get that first hit, that first tackle, the nerves go away and you start competing. Your natural ability just starts to take over. You tune, the crowd goes away, and you just focus on what you have to do to try and win the ball game and help your team.
Right, because you scored a couple times, didn't you?
I had a long kickoff return in that game, but I didn't score. I scored against Miami in the Orange Bowl a couple times, but I didn't score in that game. And actually, I got the first play of that game. It was a trick play of a tight end reverse pitch back to Keith Jackson. Keith came around the end, took the reverse, and then he pitched it to me. And I got like a 2-yard gain because they kind of sniffed it out. But so yeah, man. After I got that first hit, man, I was good to go.
Keith Jackson was a monster, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
I played with so many great guys, man, in high school and in college. But Keith was a beast, man. I never understood why some guys came to Oklahoma, like a Keith Jackson, who's a pass catching tight end, just hell of an athlete, or Troy Aikman, who was obviously a passing quarterback, man. But that speaks to Coach Switzer and his ability to recruit athletes.
Right, because Aikman was had something to do with UCLA, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He broke his leg the fourth game of the season against Miami, and then Jamel came in and started as a freshman quarterback. We got back to running the true option, and then Troy was out for the rest of the year. And I think he kind of saw the handwriting on the wall that we weren't going back to a hybrid option, and we weren't going to be throwing the ball as much. So Coach helped him transfer to UCLA. So
let me, let's kind of move to the athletics thing in college. You get there, it's a stable of backs. So I know it's a gang of ball players there because, like you said, Coach Switzer can recruit his tail off. Mm-hmm. And you talked about being able to understand how to run the plays when you were at Sumner. Being able to follow the puller and different things like that. So kind of let people understand how attention to detail and how the first step and all of that plays a part in being a truly an effective back, because you can't waste steps. You can't false step. You can't have your eyes in the wrong place. Different things like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. You have to have your footwork in order, and Coach Walsh taught us that. That got reinforced when I got to Oklahoma because, we ran the wishbone and you're going left to right. And so you can't have any wasted motion, any wasted movement. You got to be in sync with the other back. You got to know which direction the play is going. And sometimes if you're audible, you got to be able to hear that audible and be able to make that adjustment. So, that precision, footwork, technique on blocking, because as a lead back, you had to block a lot. And so you had to take, as we call it, the right path to make a certain block on the linebacker, on the defensive end, on the safety. So it's all about technique and footwork.
Yeah, man, you'd be surprised at all the gimmicks that we used to have to practice just to even be, feel confident and prepared for the option, because there was so many intricacies and nuances to the blocking schemes that, if you ain't know what the next move was, man, you get blown out pretty quick in that offense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, and just like in high school, we would run plays over and over again to perfection, and there would be variation of plays, and we'd line up in the wishbone, and we might run a inside draw play or something like that. So there's a lot of, like you said, intricacies to the wishbone that people don't know about and don't think about.
Right.
The coldest thing though was the option, being able to catch that pitch on the option, coming from Holloway and man, them quarterbacks that was at OU, man. Everybody in the country wanted to go there.
Ooh, buddy, well, you talk about Jamel, and then we had Charles Thompson. You guys might have heard of him. Charles was just as fast as I was. Wasn't a big guy, but he was fast and he could run that option, man. Jamel was not as fast. Jamel was more quick and strong than he was, just flat out fast. Mm-hmm. Then we had another cat named Eric Mitchell out of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Eric was about 6'1", maybe 205. He could run 4.3, but and he he ran the option in high school, but the only reason he didn't play over Jamel is because Eric had a issue with picking up the plays and the preciseness of the plays and making the right read. Eric would bust a play, reverse field, and then go score a touchdown.
Wow.
And this is at the D1 level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And everybody in the stands would think that he made a great play. Well,
Exactly.
he broke the scheme of the offense, really.
Exactly.
So, but we just had guys like that, man, that were just talented, man. There was a guy named Glenn Milburn, came in as a freshman my sophomore year. He was out of California, running back. Well, Glenn doesn't really touch the field for us, right? He returns kicks because he's talented. He returns punts. He gets in. He shows some promise. Well, he winds up transferring to Stanford, and you can go look him up.
Mhm.
He transfers to Stanford, and he finishes second in the Heisman Trophy voting one year.
Crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. That's the kind of talent that you had there, man.
A lot of people don't know Denny Green was the coach, I believe, at Stanford around that time, wasn't he? Or the guy that recruited from that area, man. Because I remember him coming to the school hollering at me, and I'm like, Stanford? I'm like, shh. I might have sold myself short, but in my mind, I'm like, Stanford.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, we just had a lot of guys like that, man. It just, you know, they were stacked up, man. And, you know, it's one of those situations that if a guy got hurt or he went down, the next man was up, and you might not get your spot back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, speak on the stadium, man. I mean, you playing in front of what, 60,000 fans screaming,
Yeah.
OU, and man, what was that atmosphere like, brother?
Man, it was electric, man. You just playing at home in front of 60, 80,000 people. I think at the time it was holding 85. We might be up to like 98 now. And just that whole stadium being crimson and cream, or, you know, if they had a white out, man, the whole stadium being whited out or in crimson, and they're coming out that tunnel and the guns is going off and that boomer sooner going, man, and people just clapping and standing, and man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So, Bay, you played with some guys, man. Bosworth.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us some stories of some of the good and bad and the ugly that you saw during your career at Oklahoma.
Oh, man, like I said, I played with a bunch of talented guys, a bunch of good guys, a bunch of guys that like to party. But in terms of Bosworth, you know, I don't even call him Bosworth. I call him Brian. I called him Brian his entire time I played with him. And I played with him for 3 years. But because to us, that's who he was. He was not the boss. That was a persona. That was a character that he created.
Right.
We all knew him as boss. And when we were in practice, it was, you know, we were friends, we were teams. But when he got outside of practice, man, and in front of that camera, he had to turn on that persona of the boss and be the boss.
Right.
And we'd be like, Brian, what are you doing, man? Stop saying that. It's already tough enough to beat these guys already. And you're going to go out there and shoot off your mouth against Nebraska and Texas and all these guys and talk about orange makes me puke and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, because he hated Texas.
This guy's going to be motivated to kill us, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hey, the boss was fly, boy. He was
he
fly,
was.
though.
Yeah.
He put the color.
entertaining.
Hey, he put the color in his hair and everything, man. He had it going, man.
Yeah, he did. And so, you know, just guys getting perks and stuff, man. I remember Keith Jackson, you know, probably Keith was a year older than me, so it had to be my freshman year, his sophomore year. Now, remember, I'm making that transition. I'm coming from St. Louis, basically not having nothing. And Keith's the same way. He's from Little Rock, Arkansas. He doesn't have a whole lot of anything either. But his sophomore year, this dude comes up driving into practice in a brand new Nissan Maxima. And I'm going, okay, wait a minute, where you get money to get that from? Some booster hooked me up. And so as you make those relationships and those inroads with people, they would tell other guys, well, here's how you get this done and things like that. So as illegal as hell, but it happened.
Hey, man, it was going on everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Bay, now that you once you found success on the field, how did your classmates and the other students start to treat you once they found out who you were? And it's sad they started treating you as different because you was the man on the football field. How did you accept that?
I always wanted people to see me as more than an athlete. You know, I want to be seen as a well-rounded person. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, when you're playing major college sports like that, that's how they identify you. And when you have success on the field, all of a sudden I go from a freshman, you know, playing, you know, in the national championship game and playing some to, you know, starting games my sophomore year. And then all of a sudden I started to get invited to a lot more campus parties.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And again, I remember the campus is predominantly white. These were
Right.
all. So I'm talking about, you know, frat parties with a lot of white kids and
Mm-hmm.
just multiple after the game. Hey man, come, let's go here. Let's do this. We're having a party at, you know, Alpha Cat Phi Alpha House or whatever. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll come check you out. So that whole cult, I mean, that whole shift from nobody really kind of knowing who you are other than you're an athlete, you're on the team. And then when you have some success to people knowing your name that you don't even know,
Right.
you know, hey, you're Anthony Stafford, yada, yada. Hey, let's go do this. So there's a lot of trappings that come with that success too. And you guys know that too. When you start to have some success, everybody wants you, they want to get to know you, and sometimes it's not all good.
Hey,
Right.
man, real quick, man, who was your favorite running back, man? I know OU had some dynamite athletes, Billy.
Well, you know, I'll have to say my favorite running back college-wise, and I think because I saw him up close, was Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Now here's the deal with Barry, and I think you guys can relate to this. When I was playing, I never really watched other offenses and other guys play, other than watching film and all that kind of stuff. But at come game time, I'm focused on what I had to do and help my team win. So I never really watched other guys play, unless I saw them after the game was over on tape. Now we played Barry. Now this is going to kind of be a long story, but bear with me. So it's my senior year, would have been Barry Sanders' junior year. So my senior year, I'm preseason All Big 8. So I'm up from some accolades, and I'm thinking I'm going to have a good year. This is my year. So Barry's a junior. First game of the season, they play like somebody like Miami of Ohio, right? Barry goes off for like 303 against them, right? So I pick up the paper the next day, and you know I have 80 yards or something like that, a couple touchdowns, whatever. And I thought, man, you know, this is my year. This is my year. I pick up the paper and see 303. I'm going, okay, what? Okay, and then so I dismiss it as an anomaly, right? I'm like, he just had a good game, whatever. I'll catch up with him next week or whatever. Pick up the paper the next week. He had like 280 against somebody, and the kick returned for a touchdown. I'm going, this dude is going nuts, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
4 games in, he's at 1,000 yards or something, man. And I'm like, this dude is crazy. So follow that up with, we play him. So I want to see this cat, right? I want to see Barry. He goes off for 205 against us. I'm like, this dude is the real deal. So he's got to be one of my all-time favorites. And just several guys from the pros, man. I was a big Dorsett fan because he's 33 and Converse cleats and all that kind of stuff. And he was, you know, Tony was about, and I actually played with Tony in the pros toward the end of his career. He was in Denver with me. Tony wasn't a big guy, so I think I kind of gravitated towards him. I was a big Eric Dickerson fan, man, just because of the way he ran, how fast he was to be that big. So those are some of my favorite guys.
So when you start coming to a close at OU and, you know, the agents start coming around, seeing your name, you know, on the list, prior to that, did you think you were going to make it to the league?
No, not really. My junior year, you know, I had a pretty good year. I probably ran for 600 yards and, you know, 8 or 9 touchdowns. So, you know, I was in a wishbone. That's pretty good because you got.
Oh yeah, you got to share the wealth.
And so I really didn't garner. Well, I got a few letters from Pro Scouts, you know, but I just thought they were just kind of form letters or whatever. So I really didn't think I could do anything to my pro day. We had pro day in between my junior and senior year. And back then, juniors could go test and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I go to run the 40, and I think I ran like 4.27 on my first run.
Wow, that's world class right there.
Yeah, and that's before guys were doing it, right?
Right.
So I remember the scouts from Pittsburgh and Green Bay and Dallas and some others, you know, they were timing it. And so I go through, and they go, hey, can you go run that again?
Can you run that again?
They sound like Mr. Walls, huh?
So I go back, my turn comes up again. So I find out I run again, I run 4.33. So pretty close to that 4.27. So they going, I said, what did I run? They go, first time you ran 4.27, second time you ran 4.33. I was like, what? Okay.
I'll take it.
And from teams and things like that. So that's when I figured out I might have a shot to go play pro.
Man, when you went nodded over at Denver, man, and playing with Tony Dorsett, man, and I know that experience had to be, your childhood dream come true. But,
yeah, man. I mean, that's crazy. You go from watching these guys on television, like they're your heroes and your idols. In the same way from high school to college, you see guys on television,
right.
But from college to pro, so I'm in a huddle with John Elway, Vance Johnson, the three amigos.
The three amigos.
Carl Mecklenburg, guys that you see on television. And of course, myself and Steve Atwater came out in the same draft class, so he's at Denver with me too.
Right.
And so it's just surreal, man. But you make that shift from being surreal to being in awe to going, hey, I got to go compete and I got to go make the squad, right? Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, I made it to the last cut and didn't make their team. And then I went up to play in Canada a little bit. But one other funny story in training camp from Denver, Steve and I were in the same draft class. He's on defense, I'm on offense. So they moved me to receiver. I got drafted as a receiver. And so we had a play where it called for a crackback on the safety. So I get ready to go crack on Steve, right? Steve's a big dude, right? And I had got him in college too at Arkansas. I had ran him over in college at Arkansas. So I go to crack on him in the pros. And so I kind of hold up because that's my guy. I don't want to really put the business to him, right? And so he saw me out the corner of the eye, and he knew I could have got him. And he said, you ain't getting me again.
Oh, that's what's up.
Man, you know what? Speaking of that, man, I don't believe a lot of people really understand how physical you are, man. I mean, obviously we competed at the high school level. And I can remember when I got my first hit with you, man, I was like, man, this dude is straight up physical. This guy comes with a punch.
Well, you know what? I attribute that to playing for Coach Walls, and you had to be tough. Our circumstances made us tough. We didn't have the best facilities, man. And when you practice on rocks and no
broken glass, all dirt, man.
I mean, everything's live all the time, and you couldn't miss practice, and so all that stuff just prepared you to be tough, man, to be ready for the next level, and you had to block before you carried the ball, so all that stuff was ingrained in me, man, and ingrained in us. So, like I said, when I left Sumner, man, I felt like I was ready to compete, and I was tough, and smart, and all those things that come along with being a good ball player. They were already ingrained in us. So
you mentioned going up to Canada. Mm-hmm. And a lot of ball players end up having great careers up there as well. Some people don't really understand that. And I hear great things about, lifestyle up in Canada. I mean, how was that transition?
It was nice. When I got released from Denver, I think I went back home to St. Louis, and the Ottawa Rough Riders called me. And so, I still wanted to play. So I went up there, and Ottawa's probably about, 3 hours from, the state of New York. So it's not like it's that far outside of the States. Yeah, the people are very welcoming, man. And they call the American guys imports. And they can only have so many imports on the team. And, the majority of Canadian people, North Americans, I mean, they liked us being there. But you had a few that didn't like the imports that were coming to take spots on their professional football team. And so, you would get some pushback from that and some feedback from that.
So, Bay, come from Sumner, and I was telling these guys a couple of weeks ago, we didn't have a home field.
No.
So, when I play, I'm quite sure when you play, you had a chip on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. Because, we never had that home field advantage. So how did you feel once you got to Oklahoma and you see these 60 and 70 fans, thousands of fans watching you? How did that make you feel when you ran out that tunnel?
Man, like I said, it was just surreal. I mean, it got you pumped up. You don't understand what home field advantage means until you experience that.
Right.
You don't have to travel. You're in your own locker room. You can get to the stadium early. But when you're on the road, you're in a foreign environment. You know, you got to get on the bus to get to the stadium, and all that takes its toll on you. You know, not physically, but sometimes mentally too. So there's something to a home field advantage. But then you go out and the crowd's electric. They're cheering for you, and it gets you pumped up. We didn't have a home field, so I didn't experience that until I went to college. And yeah, I played with a chip on my shoulder. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. Even in high school, man, because we didn't have the facilities. When we played other schools that, you know, county schools that had better facilities and opportunities and things like that.
Same thing. Uh-huh.
We wanted to prove that we were worthy. And how did we prove we were worthy? Well, go win the game.
Go win the game.
Go beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because when we had our segment with Al mentioned similar response. He responded similar to that. You guys have some similarities when you speak about the PHL. But I've always admired the relationships that y'all had, man, especially with your coaches, man, to be able to have Coach Walls still call you to this day, man. And
oh, yeah.
That father stuff, man, we didn't have that in the county, man. I mean, after it was over, it's over. You know, I could see coaches or whatever, man, and they'll acknowledge me, but I can't call them and say, hey, coach, blah, blah, blah. You know, you got that, man. Something you got.
I was fortunate enough to have that at the college level too, but I'll talk about it from a high school perspective. Coach Wall still calls his guys. He calls me on occasion just to check in and see how I'm doing. You know, we're friends on Facebook and all those things. I go home, you know, I try and see him, or if I see him at an event, I mean, it's just like a fraternity. It's just like you're one of his children. When you left high school, you didn't leave him. He didn't abandon you. I think he had a healthy respect, and he recognizes that his success was because of the kids. And so he felt like if he treated us well and he instilled things in us, it was a lifelong relationship, and it is.
So after the game, you know, because I talk to people about this a lot, excuse me, because, you know, people always want to know about transitioning, you know. And I got two questions. The first one was, how was it when you stopped playing? And then I'll lead into the other question after that. How was it for you when you stopped playing?
It was tough, man, because, you know, you worked all your life to get to a certain point, and when you kind of reach that level and it comes to an end, you know, whether by choice or someone else makes that choice for you. I can remember getting in my car after, you know, cleaning out my locker, leaving from Denver. And I sat in my car for a minute, and I thought to myself, what do I do now? You know what I'm saying? What do I do now? Do I go back home? Do I go back to Oklahoma? You know, what do I do? So I think I drove back to St. Louis for a little bit, and I was 6 credits short of getting my degree at Oklahoma. And so I went home and I said, you know what, I got to go back to school, and I got to finish my degree. That's the ticket. I'm not going to let them. And when I say them, I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I'm not going to let them use me up.
Exactly.
And so I said, I'm 6 hours short. I'm going to go back. And by me playing as a freshman, you know, I played for 4 years, but you really have 5 years worth of eligibility.
Right.
So I went back, and they paid for my last 6 hours of school. I didn't have to pay a penny out of my pocket, and still had access to the facilities and all those things, to tutors and all that stuff, man. So they still kind of took care of you. Even though my playing eligibility was up, I still had scholarship money available.
So I heard something in what you were talking about. So was that in part reason why you reside in Oklahoma? Because this was kind of my thing. You know, you spend that time, you get some accolades, some fame, you know, people admire you, kids, you know, families start to, you know you and gravitate towards you. Do you think that life is probably a little bit better because you stayed in the state that you played in?
Absolutely, I do. I love St. Louis. I'm a St. Louisan through and through. I'm an inner city kid through and through. I never forget where I came from, man. But when you go through that experience, Al can talk about it, Brink, you can talk about it too. It's something about that college experience and the contacts you make and being in that state that you played in. And before you get too far removed from it, people remembering your name, that will open some doors and give you some opportunities. So I recognize that, and that's partly why I stayed in Oklahoma.
I know you mentioned about Al, man, and your mentorship that you may have. I know Al speak highly of you, man. And I know he said he really learned a lot of valuable lessons by just watching you at Sumner. Can you give me some of those little gems that you may have shared with that brother?
Well, just, how to go about your business, just how to practice, how to work hard, how to be humble, how to be respectful. So the things that other guys taught me or that I picked up on that contributed to success on and off the field. And I think for me, we're all competitors, man. But so when I'm in between the white lines, I'm going to compete. I'm going to knock your head off. But at the end of the game, I don't have a problem with shaking your hand and saying good game. It wasn't one of those things, I wasn't a big trash talker. I tried to let, my play, my ability speak for itself. And so I think Albert and I kind of had similar styles. And so I would talk to him about that as a freshman and being a young kid coming up that had ability. And you can see that ability in him right away. So hopefully he took some of that. And I think he did, because look at the man that he turned out to be. Yeah. So, and I feel like that in some small way, I played a part in that. And the same with Brink.
Yeah.
Brink doesn't know it. He was playing baseball down at Handy Park. For what team did you play for, Matthew?
For the Saints. For the Saints. I played for the Saints. Al played for the Jaguars.
Yeah. So Brink was pitching, man. I said, this kid, and I'm not much older than him, but I realized he had some stuff.
Right.
And he didn't know I was watching him the whole time. And so I probably spoke to him, and he didn't realize that I was talking to him or why I was talking to him.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Brotherhood.
Because I remember your senior year that Coach Walls moved me and Smokey up on varsity to go to state. And it was me, Smokey, and Sean Ernst, and yourself in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of took that whole trip, and me and Smokey just studied the things that you did. And 3 years later, we was in that same situation with two freshmen. So we just actually passed the torch down to those guys, man. But it was one incident that stuck out in my mind. I was always watch you ride your bike to practice, man.
Mm-hmm. I did.
Back in the days. And that taught me a lot. I said, God, this guy riding a bike to practice every day. And we didn't have no transportation, guys. We got there the best way we could, man. Yep. And that just showed me, if you want it, you're going to find a way to get to practice. Because Bay tell you, it was somebody behind you ready to start.
Absolutely, man. And that's just that love of the game and, feeling like that. If you're not there, again, the next man up, your spot might not be there. So you better find a way to get to that morning practice, get to that afternoon practice, whether that was walking, riding a bike, bumping a ride, what have you, man. And so other guys see that, and you pass that down and say, it's important for you to be here. You want to be successful, you want to play. Right. It's important for you to find a way to get there.
And we had 2 days back then, man.
Yeah, we did. Right. We had like a 7 or 8 o'clock session. We practiced for 2 or 3 hours, man. We take a break. Either you can stay up at the school or you can go home if you live close enough. But come 2:30, 3 o'clock, you better be back there.
Yeah, I can't let players go home these days, man, because I won't see them.
Right. Yeah. Hey, man, I don't know how you guys do it, man. I coached a little bit at a small college. I coached a little league, man. And, that was right when I got done. But I kind of watched my kids come up and watch some of the parents and how they interact with the coaches and stuff today. I couldn't do it because I was built different, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the parents be involved and want to tell you how to, who to play and what to question why their kids not playing and all that stuff. And I was like, look, I'm going to play the best kid. Your kid will get an opportunity because they all need to play. But it's not about participation medals. It's about winning
Right.
ball. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that teaches you something, how to be a winner. You know, if everybody just gets the trophy for participating,
Right.
I'm not built like that, man. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Right.
Yo, speaking on that, going back a little bit, man, I mean, obviously, one of my favorite games was to play against Sumner. And I remember we was down at SLU, man, and we had lost to SLU, and Sumner was at the game. And as we was exiting the field, they was like, man, if you can't beat SLU, you through. If you can't beat SLU, you through. Man, I can't tell you how much that hurt. And then finally get a chance to play against y'all, and then we lost to you.
Yeah.
But give me that nugget about you, Van Zandt. When that game came, the two top running backs out of the state of Missouri. Tell me what that feeling was like, man.
Man, it was awesome. It's just one of those things that the best you want to compete against the best. And so, you know, Hazelwood Central had a great squad. We had a great squad. You know, the matchup was Stafford versus Van Zandt. That was all the build-up. And to be honest with you, that particular game, neither one of us really did a whole lot because both defenses keyed on us. You know what I'm saying? I think Tony might have had 60 yards. I might have had 38 or 40 yards. But it was a hard-fought game, man. And it was just an honor to play against you guys and play against Tony, man. I got mad love for Tony. Got mad love for Hazelwood Central, man. I always respected you guys, man, and knew it was going to be a hard-fought game. We got the best of you that year, but I think you all paid us back the following year.
Yeah, Tony took it all
like
in us.
or something like that. Al has a good game. It's a close game, but he goes off, you know, and so and that's just part of the history, man, and just competitor.
I was telling Al, I said, man, we came down to watch you guys play Sodan, you know, before we matched up with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we went on Sumner's side and sat on y'all side, man, and parents over there cursing us out. Get your motherfucking asses off this side. Cursing us out.
I don't doubt it. That's some of our fan base right there, man.
Beautiful family.
I do, man.
Yeah.
I'm about to be an empty nester, man. I've got 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. My oldest son, AJ, has his master's degree. He's a therapist and a counselor. Wow. My middle son, Nicholas, he just finished at OU. He's got his master's degree. He played ball there. My youngest daughter, Erin, she just graduated with her undergrad degree. She's getting ready to move off to Dallas in a few years. She's got this big time job in Dallas. And so I've been blessed, man. And, you know, been blessed. My wife, you know, she's a big part of my wife, Robin, man. She just, you know, she just rules the household, man. I just try and do what she tells me to do.
That's what's up. Hey, happy wife, happy life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Absolutely. Legacy, man. It looks like your legacy is definitely in a good place. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, it's special. And, you know, coming up, I never would have thought that my family would become that legacy, that OU legacy, you know, that it has. And so I'm pretty proud of that.
Being able to have this conversation with you. We like to most of the time end with kind of talking about what you're doing now. If you have any business endeavors that you want to promote or any philanthropy, I can't even get it out tonight. Philanthropic things that you want to talk about, you know, speak on that, drop an email or whatever you want to do.
Or anything you got as far as these youngsters out here, man. I mean, obviously you endured what I called a stellar career, man. You know, coming from the inner city, going to one of the best universities out there at the time, and now you're a successful businessman, man. Kind of give our young kids something to talk about, think about. Man.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And what I'm doing now, man, I still work with young people. I'm the division director for our Head Start program in the state. We have one of the largest Head Start programs across the state of Oklahoma. We're in about 23 counties, man, and just working with pre-K, preschoolers and pre-K from 0 to 5 years of age, from low and moderate income families, man, and just try and get them ready to go into to public school and give them that jump start that they need, man. And so I've been doing that for about 15 years now, and I enjoy it. I don't work directly with the kids. I have a staff of about 300 people underneath me, man, and that I supervise that do a good job. And then I have my core management team, and my job is the finances and the oversight and making sure that we pass our our monitoring reviews and things like that. So, like I said, I've been doing that for about 15 years, man, and really enjoy it and enjoy making a difference in, the lives of children, man, any way that I can, because I think where I came from and any success that I've had to this point, somebody invested in me. And so I just try and invest in other people as well.
I guess we can kind of wrap it up here, but man, it's been a total pleasure for me. I'm sure, if you guys want to say some parting shots or parting words, but, thank you again. Love you, bruh. Be safe. Anything we could do on this end. And, thanks again.
Absolutely. Vice versa, man. I love you guys, man. And it's great to see that you guys are doing successful. I'm glad that you're doing this podcast, man. Whether you know it or not, this kind of keeps that St. Louis legacy alive, that history going.
Exactly.
So a lot of guys who kind of watch this stuff and look at the guys that came before them, and hopefully that will motivate them. So I appreciate each and every one of you all and what you all are doing with this, man. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Appreciate you, babe, man. Love you, man. Appreciate.
Hey, I love you too, bro. Love all you guys, man.
Tonight.
Like I said, I got mad love for you, mad respect for all of you. Like I said, I've touched each one of you in some way, and vice versa, you've touched me in some way.
Much love, much respect, and I'm just so happy to see that you're doing very well in your life in these days, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Y'all be well and be safe, and don't let this 19 get to you.